says Scott. I think we need to do a sweep of the perimeter, because I've got a bad feeling about this and our communicator might not detect sentinels in this immediate area, says Scott. You may be right, Scott. We should have a look. Let's go check it out, says Jean. But before they can even blink, we see a shorter man with longer upward gray hair suddenly appear out of the darkness. He is carrying another man who resembles a monster. Storm, come in. Where are you? Iron Man, what's your position? Havoc, where are you? These damn things don't work. Well, don't just stand there, pretty boy, help the man. Suddenly the gray-haired man lays down the man, revealing an X-Men patch. It is Beast. Beast! Scott yells out, and runs to the man's aid. What happened to him, Logan? The north and south blockade of the city was bad. The sentinels came out of nowhere. He's lucky to even be alive. Must have been at least 30 of them, says Logan. Scott motions at Beast, who opens his eyes. Thanks, old pal. I am glad you came to my aid at such a haste time. Don't worry about it, Beast. That's what I am here for, said Logan. Are the others okay? Where is everyone? Says Scott. The sentinels came from everywhere. We lost contact with Rohan, Storm, and the others. But they're fighters. I am sure they'll come right back here in a few hours, says Logan. Scott pauses for a second and looks away with a worried look on his face, hoping that everyone is okay. But don't worry about that right now. Get him to a bed, persisted Logan. Jean and Scott immediately moved Beast to a more comfort space where he could rest. The younger mutant Dale looks on in horror. Beast, one of the legendary X-Men, almost killed in a sentinel attack. If we start losing X-Men, there really is no hope, Dale thinks. We almost lost Beast today. I've known him for over 30 years. I don't know what I'd do if he were to never come back here. Scott wringed his hands with anger and gave a look of determination. It's all right, Scott. He's alive. And that's all that matters, shrugged Jean. Scott turned to Jean and said, I love you. But before they could get another word out, Logan yells, Ship, they must have followed me here. Sniff, sniff. It's sentinels. The building's communicator failed to detect the sentinels, which threw the X-Men off guard. Scott scrambles to take action and turns his head directly at Logan, and directly above him the roof starts shaking when a giant robot rips through the ceiling. Scott looked out. Scott's reaction causes him to lunge forward before he is crushed by the Sentinel's force. Suddenly the X-Men's communicator goes off. This is Havoc of the 1 Central Division. We need help. We're outnumbered. Surrender, mutant. We hear multiple blasts. H. We hear a frightening scream from Havoc. It seems likely that he is dead. But before we can hear any more communication, the Sentinel destroyed the communicator and then looks towards Logan. H. We see Logan leap forward and lunge after the Sentinel, when another crack in the ceiling causes another Sentinel to be seen. The Sentinel behind Logan lets out a high-velocity beam that burns the back of Logan. He immediately falls. Logan, Scott says. Looking in disbelief, Scott watches as the Sentinel makes a march toward Logan, hoping to end his existence. Scott suddenly pulls out another communicator and responds. If anyone is in the area, mutant Logan, Jean, and Scott are in danger. We need reinforcements. Help us if you can. Logan. Scott. Jean persists. Suddenly Scott turns his head and his eyes illuminate with a red glare that soon grows brighter and brighter. As the Sentinel tries to grab Logan, Scott unleashes a furious optic blast that rips the Sentinel's hand from his body. The Sentinel continues to try to grab Logan with the other hand when Scott unleashes a second powerful optic blast that blasts the Sentinel's second hand. Scott prepares for a third optical blast when suddenly he feels a burning sensation on his back that causes him to fly forward towards the first Sentinel. When he looks back, he sees that the Sentinel behind him has shot him, apparent by the smoke left by the Sentinel's hand. He'll save him, says the young mutant Dale. Though he leaps for the Sentinel with courageous intent, he is no match for the deadly Sentinel's aim. The Sentinel lets out a deadly beam that takes the life of the mutant. No, Dale, says Logan. Scott. Jean yells, but before she can even react, the Sentinel takes aim at her. Logan shakes off his injury, gets up and looks directly at Gene. Gene. Rare. Logan lunges forward at the Sentinel. When the Sentinel raises his hand towards Logan, the Sentinel lets out a raw blast that proves ineffective. Logan leaps past the blast and continues forward. The Sentinel then aims another blast at Logan's direction, and yet again to no avail. Logan is determined. Soon Logan is inches away from the Sentinel when he lets out a berserker barrage that turns the Sentinel into scrap metal. From his arms to his body, the Sentinel is simply dismembered. "Gene, are you all right?" says Logan. "I am fine." "Oh no, Scott." As Scott is looking in worry about Gene's condition, he is unaware of the Sentinel behind him's intention. Suddenly the Sentinel raises his foot backward, likely looking to crush his mutant foe. But before he could do it, his foot is stopped by a seemingly invisible force. The Sentinel tries harder to crush Scott, but his foot will not land. Suddenly the Sentinel's foot goes back in the other direction and the Sentinel falls on the ground. "Nice job," said Logan as he and Gene run to Scott's aid. For the moment, the building lays quiet. But little do the X-Men know that their struggle has been detected by other Sentinels. "We're on the way. Is everyone okay?" Scott says. "You'd better be more concerned about yourself, bud." Before Logan can let out his last word, the Sentinel shoots a beam that sends Logan flying. Like a speeding bullet, the Sentinel suddenly appears with his arms extended. Logan never saw it coming. In the year 2030, the struggles with the Sentinels are life and death. Soon the Sentinel flies off in the direction he shot Logan. "Oh no, Logan," says Gene. "How did the Sentinels penetrate our communicator?" says the dying mutant. "Oh no, Scott. Come here," says Gene. "Just stay still, you're gonna be all right," says Scott. "It's okay," says Dale. "I believe, Scott. I believe hope will triumph. I believe in you. One day this world will be in peace, and we can all go get some burgers and watch a movie." The mutant laughs and begins to cough up blood. "Just stay still, you're gonna be fine," says Scott. "Man, I remember the time when my mom told me not to drift too far outside, because Sentinels may be around. But being the kid I was, I wanted to have some fun," says Dale. "I'll never forget the horror when 2 Sentinels ganged up on me. That's when Logan came and saved me and brought me here to the Resistance. You'll never forget him for that." The mutant begins to cough up more blood. "Logan is a great fighter. He's been one of my best friends for years," says Scott. "Yeah, you've had so much fun. I wish I could go back to my old home. That's what I feel like doing right now. I just want to go home," says Dale. The mutant slowly begins to cry. "I just want to go home." The mutant starts to cough up more blood. Suddenly the mutant's eyes closes. "Dale. Dale, answer me. Are you all right?" "Dale," says Scott. "The mutant is dead." "Oh my God, he's dead," says Jean. She begins to cry. Scott rests the mutant on the ground, but suddenly he can hear multiple blasts coming from outside, and we can hear Logan roaring. "H, Guraha, Raha, Hurahar." Logan is in a struggle with what sounds like more than one Sentinel. "They're gonna kill him. We have to go help him," says Scott. Jean and Scott try to exit the building, but suddenly they hear more blasts coming from outside, and to their horror they are ambushed by 3 more Sentinels. "Jean, get behind me." Scott prepares for a powerful optical blast. As he is preparing his beam, the Sentinel behind him grabs Jean. Scott unleashes the extraordinary blast that rips right through the Sentinel's stomach. It immediately falls,